Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome on Stars Star Delta 9 coming at you. This evening I'm going to shine a little bit of light on the darker side of spiritual awakening. Mine, to be exact. How the hell is everybody? Let me give everybody a few minutes to come on in. Remember, these are the symptoms I'm experiencing and the tips I want to give you for them. There are many other ones. So let's give it a second. Okay. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The dark side of a spiritual awakening. Make no mistake about it. Enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier or being enlightened. Or anything of that kind. Enlightenment is a crumbling away of untruth. It's seeing through the facade of the pretense. It's the complete eradication, if you will, of everything that we've imagined to be true. Asada Shamte, I think, said that. So I want to quote him. Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I really appreciate anyone that watches this on replay also. Hello in chat, waving a big hand, and namaste to you all. A spiritual awakening is, to me, it's being awake to the real nature, your essence, your soul's essence. It's being aware of our true nature and it means we let go of all of the old kind of paradigms or conditioning of who or what we think or thought we were, okay? When you or I or whomever is experiencing something of this nature, when you're in the brink or at the threshold of being united with divine, God, source, whatever you want to call it, her, him, and you're meeting your soul for the first time, not to mention your purpose. That's going to be a whole nother video because you won't find that out until you've gone through this. What happens is our ego self faces a crisis. It faces a crisis of death. And it does everything within its power to derail you. It does everything it can to prevent you or I from seeing the truth. Hence, this is where the term the dark night of the soul came from. I've told you guys numerous times on part of the Cracked Wide Open series, the dark night of the soul is gut-wrenching. Yes, it's blissful. It's sad. It's truly devastating. And yes, it's lonely. It's scary when it's faced alone, especially when you don't know what is occurring. It's frightening. It's frightening for me, and it still can be frightening for me. Please feel free if you have any questions to leave them in the comment section in the chat. I'm happy to look over and see if I can't answer them. So today I'd like to help you, if you'll allow me. I'm going to give you 5 signs that I have encountered. If you've had a spiritual awakening or you're going through the dark night of the soul. Now, I really want you to keep in mind again that these 5 signs and these tips are how I'm overcoming my spiritual awakening. And there are many other signs and many other tips out here on YouTube, and you can Google many spiritual awakening. I just want to give you mine as they come to me, as raw as they come to me. I just think it's the best way to do it, and that's why I'm doing it live, and I'm not editing it, and I'm not typing it, and I'm just going to speak to you because I don't know what else to do, and I'm being told to speak to you. So I'm speaking. So when we talk about this ego, we talk about ego death. I've discussed this briefly. As we grow up let me see how I can say this. As we grow up, we form a mental image, okay, an image of who we are based on our personal cultural conditioning, along with religion, school, kids, friends, siblings, upbringing, right? And so I want to point out to you that your personal culture and your conditioning, that's called phantom self. That's the phantom portion of the ego. It's the phantom self. The phantom self is the ego. The term ego means different things to different people. And when it's used here, I'm using it in the sense of false self. It's not who you are. It's not who you want to be. It's who you have grown up to believe you are. Okay? And your ego, it's created by your unconscious identification with your mind. Eckhart Tolle, look him up. Amazing spiritual guru. And when we begin to awaken to our true nature, our ego faces a state of death, a crisis. And it tries everything, believe you me, it tries everything in its power to maintain status quo. Okay? It doesn't give a shit if you come kicking or screaming. It doesn't care if you're grocery shopping. It doesn't care what you're doing. If you are behaving in a manner that's no longer cohesive, in oneness, in consciousness with God, and for the greater good of the collective and yourself, it's going to fall to the wayside. It will just dissipate in your life. That's why spiritual awakenings come on rapidly. That's why they're complete destruction, because everything that you believe to be true falls away. Okay? And when we awaken, all of your, my, anyone's, our world views will be shaken. And they'll be shaken to the absolute core, and you will begin to see the illusionary aspect of your ego. And you will come to understand what your role is, your soul, nature, natural role in the cosmos, meaning your soul's purpose, ours, mine, yours, because we are all brought here for a soul's purpose, right? So ego death to me, I kind of label it as this for me. I didn't realize I had such a great ego, and I can only use myself as an example. And I was, held in a high career. I was the middle child. Through shadow work, I realized some things about myself, some inner work about myself on how and why I built the ego-based disbelief that limited me in my lifetime thus far until my spiritual awakening. Okay? And when my ego began to die, it knows it's dying. It's in your mind, it's part of you. It is there for a reason. It's healthy to have an ego. If you're getting on a bus with a child and you're in the 6th grade and you get into a tiff and you and him, get into a fist fight and he wins and you lose, you get your pride hurt. You get your feelings hurt. And at 6 years old, you don't understand that. So you fragment. We call it coping mechanisms. We all do it. And we grow up with these self-limiting beliefs that create this egoic self. Okay? And when you have a spiritual awakening, ego death is kind of like a rite of passage, if you will. So I'm going to ask you, wherein I realize that I am an infinite soul. And ego was just and is just an instrument that I used. And normal, healthy ego is perfectly fine. I'm not talking about narcissistic ego. I'm not talking about covert narcissism or grandiose narcissism or anything like that. I'm sure you guys all know someone that's got a really big ego. You say, oh, their head's the size of the Grand Canyon, So when this happens to you, I want you to recognize it. The tip that I found most useful for me is, and again, I'm only going to be able to use myself as an example. Through my shadow work, when I find myself behaving in a fashion that's not good for me, and it sucks me back into a destructive behavior that I have learned over my lifetime, it's like a heroin addict going through heroin, okay? And you literally have to break the habit. And people say, how do you do it? And I kind of can speak on two sides of this coin. I broke a oxycodone habit from opioids due to a severe back injury, and now I'm breaking a traumatic habit from an injury that was caused to me when I was a child, and that I'm not even done working on yet. So there are many things that don't correlate with the two. So I'm not talking about an addiction to a substance. I'm only using the metaphor as seeking the heroin is kind of like what you will seek, the behavior that you are used to, that you believe to be true, that you believe to be right, that you're going to put your fist down and go, I don't give a shit what anyone says, I know it's this way. It's your ego. Okay? And if you or what I said to myself is, I'm a healer. And if I can take 5 seconds and put my hands on my chest or put my hands on my head and breathe and say to myself, be the observer, recognize that behavior. Why are you behaving that way? Okay? What is it that's creating you to react, right, that way? And when I began asking myself those questions, stuff started coming up. And I had to stay conscious. I had to stay in consciousness in the present moment and be the observer. And when I became the observer of the behavior now, or the ego, it's now the behavior. And my thing just fell. Sorry. I was trying to make it very good with divine. Some things just happen. And you just have to go with the flow. So recognizing the behavior is how you stay in consciousness in the present moment. Be the observer. Ego is unconscious. It's quick to act. And once you become aware, it's no longer ego. It's now conscious. It's a behavior. So now you can stay in consciousness. Catch it. Catch it. Now it's behavior. You can say, oh, that's a behavior. I can catch it. We know when we're aware of it, it becomes that behavior. You can change your behaviors like smoking, overeating, indulging in shopping, watching too many movies, binge watching. You know, it may take quite a few times of catching yourself. Here's what I found out. The ego is strong. Our egoic self is extremely strong. Okay? And it will control your body and the rest of your mind if it can, if you allow it. And so when I realized the behavior was manifesting, then I took some quiet time to catch myself. And as I began to catch myself in each separate episode that occurred, it became less and less and less and less, to the point where I don't do it anymore. The residual effects began to last shorter period of time. The egoic outbursts began to be smaller and less frequent. And why? Because my ego's dying. It's no longer unconscious that I am doing this. Now I am seeing I'm doing it. Now it's behavior, and I can change it. I've always said, when you do better, when you know better, you do better, right? So you know better. when it's a behavior and you can change it. That's number one. Number two, I want to talk a little bit about this one because, one, you feel alone, or two, you feel alone. It's mentioned frequently that a spiritual awakening, it is a very lonely journey. I'm not going to debate it. During the initial phases, we certainly feel alone. You have to remember your worldviews as you believe them begin to fall away, right? And during the initial phases, you don't understand it. You don't know what's going on. Hi, Lobo. So worldviews begin changing. And we have a lot of questions that begin popping up during this phase. And what I have found is that I was really hard pressed to find a lot of people who could discuss things with me, who understood what was happening to me and what to do and some modalities, and that's where I understand why people that first have spiritual awakening, they have their cell phones, their computers, their laptops so far stuffed up their booty they can't see straight because they're trying to find the answers, right? And the information that's out there, there's some very valuable information, and I'm not, and I'm one of them now because that's going to be my sole purpose. And there's some valuable information out there, but what I found during this initial phase, when you're feeling alone and your worldviews and your beliefs that you thought you were someone you're not, or you were in a relationship you thought was love and it wasn't, or whether you're in a job that you hate your boss, or whatever the circumstances, right, whatever they might be, questions begin to come up into your brain, questions that you didn't ask yourself before, and you're hard pressed to find a lot of people that can answer those questions for you. And the reason is they can't. They can't. We can give you spiritual teachers, gurus, anyone that teaches spirituality, does divinations, tarot cards on a spiritual level, talks about energy sources or does tapping or Reiki. They can assist you in the transition. That's it. They can give you modalities that worked for them. They can suggest ideas of things to do that they did. Okay? But I'm going to reiterate this to the utmost core of my being. A spiritual awakening is individual to the individual. It's individuality. So the answers that we give you, the methods that we give you, they work. They're valid. Use them, because it took me time to pull these methods together and to know that they worked, because it's important to me to center myself, because you literally feel like you are losing your mind at times. Or you may say, divine, either you end it or I'm going to. The pain becomes sometimes so unbearable. Those people that say things like that, you might need to seek some psychotherapy as well, because you're safe. You're not in harm. And for me, it's been important to spend time in solitude, in meditation. It's deepened my understanding of who I truly am, what my soul essence is all about. And once I began doing this, my practice deepened, and I quickly discovered that I wasn't alone. Uh, That's another thing. However, I'm talking in the traditional sense. You think your attachments to family, to a car, to a boat, to a job, to money are what make you who you are. And it could not be further from the truth, my friend. So I'm not speaking of the traditional sense of that way. What I'm referring to is you are always, always connected to divine, God, infinite source, and the answers you seek during a spiritual awakening can only be found within you. It's found through meditation or through reading, through a guru, through source, through divine, through the cosmos. Because I have to tell you, if you have a spiritual awakening, hello, the cosmos and divine have a way of bringing into your universe exactly what you need when you need it. Okay? So once awakened, I know for me, I won't be getting involved in codependent relationships. I've learned the art of solitude and that I am whole right here, right now, and I don't need to live my self worth through anyone. That I am worthy just where I am, within who I am, and I am a magical creator of my destiny. And I've learned the hard lessons through shadow work. That's another video. Shadow work, just to touch on it, is the darker side of you. It's the egoic side that you thought identified you as a person, or what your purpose here is. This is when you begin to get connected to your soul's tribes. You know what I'm saying? Your soul's purpose. You begin to connect yourself with like minded individuals that are on the same path, that are vibrating on the same level. What no longer serves you or created you harm or pain or suffering in your life will fall away. What's meant to stay will stay. All else will disappear. Those friends, those families, those coworkers, that bank account, that car, that boat, all those things, what doesn't ascend with you during this phase, especially if you're in a relationship in your life, probably was not meant to. And the capacity to be alone to me is the capacity to love. It looks paradoxical to me and possibly to you too, but it's not. It's actually an existential truth. It's only those capable of being alone that are capable of sharing or going to the deepest core of another person without becoming attached or dependent on that person. Okay? That to me is the utmost freedom. Freedom, when people talk about freedom, they talk about, I have the best job in the world, I have freedom. No, you have financial success. You don't have freedom. I drive a fancy car, I drive the best, fastest boat on the lake. All you do is have a fast car and a fast boat. That's all you have. It doesn't bring you freedom. Because now you can choose to share. Now, when you are awakened, what happens? It's an absolute freedom that you can begin to share on an energetic level, on an energetic bond, a spiritual bond with others, not on a superficial bond based on ego or false beliefs or connections or beliefs you had growing up. We've all had sob stories of what happened to us when we were children. Some are just more tragic than others. Yes? The problem I'm running across is no one wants to do the inner work because it's difficult. You have to look at yourself. And when you have a spiritual awakening and these two things occur, the third thing that's going to occur is you're going to undergo, and I think this is a given. I don't think this is a not or a maybe. I think this is a given. You're going to undergo huge cognitive dissonance. And that's kind of the philosophy of the heroin addict that I'm talking about. And so to break it down a little bit to you, the only way I could figure out how to do it is to put it in layman's terms, because I'm a nurse, is the field of psychology. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort that you experience as a person or by a person who simultaneously holds two contradictory beliefs, ideas, and values. You believe this one and you believe this one. This one's contradictory. It's a contradictory belief. It's not true. Nothing about it is true. You have an idea. You have a value. We all grew up with those beliefs, ideas, or values, right? And when you're awakened and you're going through the process of actualization of the soul, and you meet your soul for the first time, we're forming a new world view in its entirety, different from how we have learned to view things through our conditioning, right? From our upbringing. And let me give you an example. My father was an alcoholic. I grew up a middle child. I grew up with my family telling me multiple times. I had a brother that passed away before me, and he was the apple of my dad's eye. And somehow I never measured up. I always felt like I didn't fit in because I was born after him and I was born a middle child. My father was an alcoholic, and I was the middle child, being the oldest daughter, so I took on the role of codependency to my mother because my father's behavior was not so kind to my mom. Was that my mom's fault? No. Was it my father's fault? No, he had an addiction to alcohol. But did it make me to grow up believing that I had to nurse and heal and care and fix everyone? Yes. Totally explains my profession, nursing. Also, I began to feel out of place because I was that middle child. I didn't fit in. I didn't know my purpose. I ran away multiple times. My mom would say, "What are you running from?" I'm running because I don't know where the fuck I fit in here. And in the beginning, when you don't fit in like that, you run to something. And so I became a runner. I became a runner. And when things didn't fit and I didn't fit in, I escaped out the back door. And if I knew that it was going to happen, I would sabotage it. I would do something unconsciously to sabotage the effort and not give myself permission to feel, to live, to love, to experience joy, because those things were being experienced through other people because I didn't measure up. The only way I measured up was to be the good codependent that I was. And if I stepped out of line, then I was bad. And if I didn't, I was good. And so when you're a child and you learn that what's good is good, it doesn't matter if it's bad or not, or indifferent, you're going to do it. And in the beginning, you'll start to experience huge cognitive dissonance. And however you get more established in your true nature of who you are, your true essence of your soul, you and I, we begin to embody and exhibit our new worldviews, and we exhibit them boldly. Okay? And I guess this is for me expressing mine boldly. So my journey here really is to help ignite or awaken, assist an awakening to someone else's soul and their soul purpose, because it's an unconditional love that you will never experience in your life. I don't care how good a lover you have. It's priceless. And I'm honored to share it and see if I can't assist another soul in ascending. So, let me take a little sip. I'm a little parched. During this spiritual awakening, you begin to experience freedom, like I talked about, and it's a different kind of freedom than what you're used to. It's you begin to experience courage. It's a different type of courage that you're used to. It's not a courage I'm going to show you and flip someone off. It's about, I know where I stand. I know my truth. I have the utmost freedom, and you're not going to behave nor treat me that way because I have an option of free will. And you begin to expand. In your expansion, the universal love is like, it is something that I've never experienced in my lifetime, and I don't think I ever will. And through my reading, my meditations, and my retreats and my journeys that I'm taking, I'm learning that people pay money for this kind of stuff, and it doesn't happen to them. So take it as it resonates with you, right? If it doesn't resonate, leave it. You're not ready to hear it. If it resonates, awesome. Use it. These tips I'm telling you, these issues that arise, these symptoms will arise. Okay? So, tip, when you're feeling the cognitive dissonance and you want to become that addict where you go back to whatever it was that was causing you the suffering in the first place, meditate. Solitude. Cry. Crying is healing. Do whatever it takes. For me, I can't snowball this shit, okay? I just can't and I won't. For me, mindful meditation has been my saving grace. Okay? During these periods, you may find it hard to spell your name. Okay. Can be very challenging and hard to concentrate. Can be very challenging and hard to read. Okay? You may be able to listen, color, swim, walk, and fucking breathe. Okay? That's what I tell you. I'm not kidding. Because when you're having a spiritual awakening and all of the egoic shit is coming up and you're experiencing the cognitive dissonance, you're not going to be able to concentrate on anything. What you're going to be able to do, depending on how severe it is for you, for me, I was lucky to eat. I was lucky to get out of bed. I was lucky to put my fucking underwear on without them being inside out and not give two shits about it, or not wear makeup, or shower. And all of those things are perfectly fine when you're going through it. That's why solitude and meditation is the best. Many things will bring in input to you. You try to go out in the community and you will be vibrating on such a level and you will be so angry by the time you get back to your house because people are not behaving the way you want them to behave. And why the hell are they not awake? Because you are. And I know because I did the very same thing. And so I'm asking you to just don't do that. There are people who know they're awake and they know and they don't want to know anymore. There are people that aren't awake and they're walking around using their reptilian brain and that's it. They don't want to do anymore. And there are the cognizant, the ones that know. Those are the ones that you want to speak to. You're right where you are supposed to be at that time. And remember, above all else, remember that you're not alone, because the minute you calm your mind, your body, and your breathing is key. You become centered and you begin to feel the universal vibration. And you vibrate on the level that should be electrocuting you if you stuck your finger in a light socket. People can touch the bottoms of my feet and they're vibrating almost as if they had a Gresham shunt in there for some type of dialysis. So energy is real, people. So remember, when you get to that point, if you're experiencing cognitive dissonance and you're spinning out of control and you can't eat because you're not hungry and you can't go outside and you're crying because you just don't know what's happening, get some headphones, find something that resonates with you. Meditation. Even if you have to go in the bathroom and close yourself in the bathroom and lock the door and put the headphones on and brace your back against the door, that's a form of solitude. I hope it doesn't have to get to that level for you where you can just escape off into a private little place and meditate and cry and do whatever it takes for you to have mindful meditation. The shadow side has to be addressed. You're going to have mindful meditation without addressing any of the shadow side in the beginning. And then the egoic side is going to rear its ugly head, and you're going to start having to delve in deeper into solitude, maybe more tears, because it's going to take you into another deeper level of slush, I call it, because I'm a fish, kind of like the shark down in the deep depths of the waters, that shit that keeps lurking up, right? During those periods when you find it so hard to spell your name and you can't concentrate and you can't read, color. Get a box of crayons and color. I've been coloring like a mofo. Listen to music. Swim. Get into some water. Feel the flow. Walk. Breathe. Do some prana breathing. Try to breathe from the lower plexuses all the way up and imagine a light going in right up to your third eye. You're right where you're supposed to be at that time, and you're not alone. You can reach out and ask for guidance. The one thing I had a problem with at that point was I kind of got mad because it was the ego doing a 180 on me, trying to play a trick. Oh, now you're going to get mad at God and divine because this is not easy. See, I told you so. You're never going to do it, right? It was like, I'm telling you, the ego will come in through the back door. It'll come in through the front door. It'll crawl up your ass and it'll hit you right in the face. You're going to come face to face with your very own shadow side. And while this is one of the toughest things, I'm not going to lie, there's no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do everything, no matter how absurd, in order or out of order, to avoid facing their own soul. You've seen it. People will murder people. People will become so blatantly liars, narcissists, evil individuals because they clearly don't want to face their own soul. And it's probably no doing of their own. It's just a scary process. I understand it. Trust me, I'm living it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That's by Carl Jung. And you know, when I began meditating or began being aware of who I truly was, is when I was like, this is Donkey Kong, man. Donkey Kong. I came face to face with the ugly things I had hidden in my unconscious mind. It's a process of cleansing, it's transmuting, wherein all that needs to be transcended will be brought to the surface. It's kind of like that bubbling pot that's boiling over the stove. All of those energies that created trauma or negativity or false beliefs or ways of behavior or knowledge that you knew and lived by, they have a process of being cleansed and they have to be transmuted out. Whereas all that needs to be done is for you to transcend up. And isn't that what we all want to do? And if you don't let them all bubble out, they're going to be brought to the surface regardless whether you like it or not. Once you stop fighting yourself, when I fully accepted that, I began to awaken to see the cosmic miracles that we really are. When you become awakened enough and the journey slows down enough to where you're transcending and transmuting some of those negative energies out of your life, yes, you're going to have some baggage. You're maybe going to have some karmic lessons in your life that are really serious karmic lessons that are going to make you have to address yourself in the mirror, because what you do to other people is exactly mirroring you. It's you. You're doing exactly what your soul is. You're mirroring yourself. So whether you like it or not, once you stop fighting yourself and you accept that fully, then you'll begin the awakening process. So my tip for this one would be ebb and flow. What I'm having to do is I am at the process of my spiritual awakening where I've been doing a lot of Reiki on myself, a lot of self-healing. My skin, my everything is different. Everything is different. I'm healing at cosmic minutes, seconds. It's weird. I don't even look the same, People tell me that every day. So when I get to this point where I'm ebbing and flowing, right? And I don't give up my meditation. I start my day with meditation, with consciousness, with oneness with God, with myself, with my soul's purpose. I give myself permission to live my wildest dreams, whatever they may be, during my meditation. Whether it's walks on the beach, or opening up my business in an actual brick and mortar, or some of the other dreams and wants and wishes that I have during my meditation, right? I get into meditation and I just let it ebb and I let it flow. And I don't answer the questions on how it's going to occur or when it's going to occur. And I take walks and I take baths and I color and I sing and I play and I do some self-love. And here's the key. If you have nothing from any takeaway from this video, self-love is the key. We have a tendency to not love ourselves and we create all of our suffering. Another video. So, self-love yourself. I know it's hard because I'm having a difficult time self-loving myself. Perfect example is I'll hide and not get dressed and have my hair up in a ponytail, and I'll make excuses that I'm doing something when I'm not doing anything at all. And it's just some cognitive dissonance creeping up because I think I'm not going to measure up and I'm not going to be enough, and I just have to walk through that fear. I am enough. I'm not alone. I am cosmic. I am with divine. I am beautiful. I am breathing. I am sharing. I am vibrating. I am feeling unconditional love. And what I put out, I attract. what I resist persists. So I stay in this ebb and flow. And in the morning I meditate, and at night I meditate. And some of the key things I also found as a tip that helps is you could take one, really just 0.5 milligrams of melatonin, because you don't want to switch anything off in your glandular system at all. You want it to function and flow the way it's normally supposed to. And that's why you begin to vibrate, because your glandular system and your chakras begin to open. Your pituitary gland begins to fire. Your thalamus gland begins to fire. And you're in seventh heaven. It's bliss. But it's also like a little devil over here, a black devil and a white devil. And I know, that's just a metaphor. And that's what I'm using it for. This would be the egoic self saying, "No, psst, 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 psst. That ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. I've been telling you." And depending on the situation is how bad it's going to derail you or try to derail you. Okay. And this side is, when you get to this point, you go, that's a behavior. And behaviors change. It's just like quitting smoking. Just stop it. Once you know it's a behavior, you can change it. So if I have that cognitive dissonance that's creeping up that wants me to behave like a self-sabotager, and I'm right and you're wrong, and the only one that I'm hurting is self. That's it. I'm not hurting anybody else, because nobody else lives in here with me. Nobody else lives in here with me. Again, I'm saying it. Your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, your physical, all you. No one different. Ego, everything is the same. All you. All you. That's why everything is found within. So, taking us to number 5, you realize, I realized, and I realized this through people pushing me. You realize for the first time that you're a powerful creator. Another one of my egoic pitfalls of cesspool of dark waters with the shark is, don't fucking tell me I can't do something. Don't know why. Don't know where it came from. It's just there. Okay? And so I know I can't do everything. Let's just face it and call it what it is. I don't know everything. I don't need to control everything. And once I realized that was the behavior, it stopped. So when we awaken, there's no place to hide. There is no going back. And that takes me back to the FYI point. Whatever you left has fallen to the wayside. It's gone. It's not coming back. It's not ever coming back. Not in the way that it was before. The only option, or I'm not even going to say option, the only I don't know, maybe the only exception to that point might be that if you are with a spouse and that you and that spouse have had a loving relationship, and then something like a child passes away, and it creates one of the spouses to have a spiritual awakening. Generally, the second spouse who has, is following suit, coming in an upright position on the same energy wavelength, will follow, but there's no going back. You can't unknow what you know. And you will begin to realize that you are and your own creator, and you're a powerful one at that. When I went to the doctors and I told them, you need to check my EEG because I'm vibrating on a level that should be killing me. He looked at me like I was crazy. If my body can vibrate in that capacity and I can put my hands on a dog or a person and heal something, you are not able to lie to yourself anymore. There's a knowing of freedom that will come, that you will come to understand. Unlike any freedom that you have ever experienced in your lifetime. And once you acknowledge that freedom, life has a meaning we give it. You begin to align yourself with that true soul's purpose, your true soul's purpose, and you start taking action. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Okay? You realize that even if you stumble, I call them roadblocks. My videos are not perfect. They aren't edited. My background falls down. Ebb and flow. I call this stumbling blocks, roadblocks, if you will. Okay? But I have the capacity to build myself up again. I can turn around, stand up, and put that back up. Lesson learned. Probably shouldn't use that tape anymore. That's just the thing I'm talking about. There truly isn't any bad or good. It's just darkness and light. It's yin and it's yang, right? That's it. Yes, it's a painful process. Looking in the mirror and facing you and your shadow side, the false beliefs and the lies that you were told, which formed your very connections in your life that you grew up believing as a belief system. I ask you, I implore you, are they true? Mine weren't. In fact, all were false limiting beliefs, lies, all from connecting from an upbringing of my value system that created me to attach myself to a person who needed codependency. Those things that did not serve me anymore, that didn't allow the essence of who I really am shine. You can't fuck with divine's divinity energy. When you have a soul's purpose, when I tell you it's coming, get ready, I'm not kidding. If you die or pass and you've not had a spiritual awakening, this is another video. I know I keep saying that. You're going to be in limbo, and that's where you're going to stay. So people pay lots of money for this, and it's free. Those things that did not serve you, that caused you to believe self-limiting beliefs, that caused suffering and torment and betrayal and torture and lies or whatever it caused in your life, it's going to fall away. The things that serve you will stay. That's why my cannabis growing stayed. It serves me. It's a God-given natural plant. I am an apothecarist. I enjoy making product for individuals, and it serves the greater good of their health. Divine's not going to take that from me. Divine is going to take whatever does not serve you or your soul's purpose or snuffs your soul purpose out away. I'm Star Delta 9. I'd like to thank you for sharing this video with me on this Cracked Wide Open series. Hit the thumbs up, please, if this resonates with you at all. Please share the information. I like these videos to get out to the eyes and to the ears of the people who want it. There are many that need it. I find many people need a lot of things, but they don't ever get what they need. What do you want? Please sound off in the comment section below. You know that's your section. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any comments that you have. Be on the lookout for the trailer of Cracked Wide Open. New videos will be going up weekly, along with a weekly live video. I will be continuing the Fellowship of the Day, my soaping. That's not falling away. Those are things that are serving me. So until then, my friends, thank you so much for stopping by. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments section below. This will be listed under Cracked Wide Open. I appreciate you all. Namaste.